What's up, guys? I'm taking a quick break here on this trail ride just to show you some of the crazy adventures I've been on, including riding some sick trails with 𝐋𝐚𝐰, who was recently a stunt double in a Bollywood film for his electric unicycle riding. With this scooter, all this terrain here, I just rode across it. All of this right here, these rocks, these obstacles, it's nothing for the scooter. I just went down that and up this. And what I'm gonna do is review this scooter for you, compare it to some others that are worthy of mentioning. I should also go over a few customizations that make my scooter a little different from the one that you might get. If you choose to get one, you can get $50 off with my coupon. I do get a small commission for that, so appreciate the sale. Yeah, some of the customizations, we'll talk about that in a second, but overall, this is the scooter. Dual motor, dual suspension, hydraulic brakes, 11-inch tires that are 4 inches wide. That's wider than most come, which does make a nice difference there. It's wide enough that I'm comfortable using street tires on this off-road terrain, by the way. So I'm gonna mix in some footage, some POV footage of me on some crazy rides that I don't think most people riding scooters are doing. And as that footage is playing, I'll mix in some footage of the scooter, talking about some of the differences and the highlights, things I love and a couple things I don't. But overall, I am very impressed with this scooter and it's one of my favorites, and I've tried many scooters. All right, let's talk about some of the customizations, shall we? So let's start down here. If you buy this scooter, it comes with 160mm rotors. I changed that to 140, which requires you to get a different brake adapter. They're cheap on Amazon, but I wanted more ground clearance, and this scooter does have regenerative braking, so that kind of compensates for the lack of rotor diameter. And honestly, you can tell for the kind of riding I'm doing, ground clearance is going to be a little more important than stopping power. One, because you're not going too fast and the brakes are strong enough anyway as they are, but two, yeah, I'll just be bending rotors all day if I'm using 160s on 11-inch tires. I also changed the suspension. I bought the regular 11. If you get the higher end 11s, it'll come with rebound dampening, but I just got some aftermarket suspension for like 60 bucks because I kind of wanted to see if I could change it myself. So that is also custom. The deck also has grip tape, which I put on. Normally it comes with this silicone cover, but I just, again, you can see the kind of riding I'm doing. I needed more grip, and I ran that up the neck a little bit there. Custom suspension on the rear and another 140mm rotor. What else? These grips are aftermarket. They are lock-on, single bolt. The handlebars are carbon fiber and they're slightly taller. I also messed around with many throttles, but I think I like this one the best. Maybe we're still figuring that out. We'll see. But that is the stock throttle. And if you're getting it from Super Scoots, you're getting the most updated everything. So it does come with that throttle despite pictures. This stem face is also a little bit different. Most of these upgrades that I did are not going to matter for most people. I'm just letting you know in case someone's like, oh, it's a little different than what I bought. But a lot of my customizations are super specific to the kind of riding I do. If you're not going off-road, you might as well just keep the 160mm rotors. But if you're curious about some of these products, I can link them in the description. I really love these grips. I think everybody should use Ergon. I got to know them from the mountain bike world. Let's talk about things I love. Well, honestly, pretty much everything. It's a super customizable scooter. You can change the acceleration curve, how much power goes to the front and rear motors, customize the speed or power output of each gear. I mean, you can do a ridiculous amount of customization in terms of how the scooter accelerates, but also decelerates. You have 5 stages of regenerative braking power. You can control all of that. But design-wise, I will say it's one of the most comfortable scooters by far. Like, so much better suspension-wise. This thing is like riding on a cloud. It is probably as good as the NAMI scooters, and most scooters just don't feel that good. And I'm talking about like Cabo. None of their scooters feel this good. Honestly, I've tried almost everything on the market, and nothing has really come close. Also, really important is that this scooter has quick connect right there. That allows you to easily take off the wheels. You don't have to fiddle around with the controller inside under the deck to disconnect the motors or the wheels in case you get flats or want to change out the suspension, which I obviously did a bunch of times. And honestly, it's hard to find many details that I should point out of things that I don't like. And all the things that I do like, it really has to do with how other scooters just implement certain ideas terribly. So a lot of this scooter design that I like is just the fact that they didn't do anything completely stupid that a lot of scooters do. However, a couple things that kind of suck. Now, the folding mechanism is actually pretty legit. It's secure. You can tighten it a little bit more too so that there's less play or no play really, which is great. This is where the folding thing would normally hook in and latch. I removed that because I'll pull up a picture for you, but it is just an obnoxious placement of where to have that hook. And if you get the Fighter Mini, which in some ways seems to be designed a little bit better, that folding and latch system is just better. The other big drawback on this scooter, and this is more relevant to me because you can see the kind of riding I'm doing right there, that is where the bottom suspension mount is, and it is a little bit too close to the ground. You can see that this would actually be where the deck height is, so this would actually be the ground clearance, but it's almost as though the ground clearance is half as good as it looks because this part protrudes so far out, not only on the back but also the front, making it easy to hit curbs. I can't really reliably go up curbs on this scooter. Some scooters, like this one, just have a different kind of suspension mount system and has enough ground clearance to go up curbs, down curbs comfortably, which I can do actually. But yeah, going downstairs, going up curbs, I do not trust this scooter to have the right ground clearance sometimes. And it does get hit, so that's kind of a drawback. But again, if you're not doing the kind of riding I'm doing, it's gonna matter a lot less for you. And I'm still doing it anyway, so it hasn't proven to be a complete deal breaker, but it is kind of a bummer. And sometimes I look at the Fighter Mini, which does not have this swing arm design. It has better ground clearance for the deck height. In addition to that, the kickstand protrudes a little bit below the deck. I think it should be a little bit above the deck, so again, that the ground clearance is true and that there's nothing to snag when going over obstacles like this. Come on, guys. Also, the perfect scooter for me, I'll take a note here from the GX3 by GoTrax, which is not necessarily a super respected brand, but they do have some good scooter details. This is an area that I wish I could rest my foot on more. And I think a better scooter design would actually just sort of allow the deck to sort of gradually become the neck of the scooter. And that way I could reliably plant my foot here and just expand my stance if I need to for stability. Because sometimes, again, I'm going down some really steep stuff and it's nice to be able to have my foot there just for safety and security, but also just width. Sometimes being able to widen my stance allows me to be more confident in my positioning. Also, I think if you raised the angle of the neck and had it connect maybe up here, maybe just a few inches higher, it could actually make the whole steering assembly more stable, more stiff. The longer that this stem is, the more flexy it's going to be. Some people talk about the instability of a single pole design, which this is. Now this is definitely better than some, but some of the dual pole designs don't even need a steering dampener when you're riding at the full speed of the scooter because they're so much more stable. However, I've ridden some single pole designs that appear to be stable enough that you don't need a dampener. The GX3 is one of them, that 𝐋𝐚𝐰 Panther is another. Unfortunately, those scooters have some other very disappointing drawbacks, but they did a couple things right that others did not. But there's a lot of little things to love. You can swap out the bars for some taller ones if you want. You can't do anything like that on Apollo. You can fully position this cockpit. The brakes can move. The handlebar angle can change. You can do so much that a lot of scooters would not allow you to do. You can really fine tune this to your liking. The lighting system is cool. I appreciate the visibility that gives. There's a lot of ways to customize the lighting if you want to. When you pull the brakes, everything turns red. As you can see, overall, I just want to get the point across that this is absolutely one of my top recommendation scooters. I personally own them because I do love it, and I've tried many scooters on the market. Not everything, but darn near everything worth trying. Well, I'm going to get back to riding, but I appreciate you watching and listening, and I hope this was insightful for you. If you guys have any questions, you're welcome to leave some in the comments. Super Scoots hooked me up with this scooter, and their customer service is amazing. And if anything goes wrong, I trust you're in the right hands. And my code does get you $50 off, so that's nice. If I have to point you to one of the best scooters out there, Teverun is actually going to be one of them. And I think Super Scoots is one of the best retailers. So check them out, check this scooter out. All right, I'm gonna get back to riding, but thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Here's something I should mention about the brakes. You can actually activate the regenerative braking, which is great for stopping the scooter or at least slowing it down significantly without actually using your pads at all. So if you pull it just enough, like the pad actually will start to press the rotor here, but if you pull it about this far, you just get that finesse down, and you can see that you're pulling it enough when the lights turn on or that little exclamation point turns on, you will activate the regenerative brake at whatever strength you set it to. Now, I do think that the Apollo style brake in this way is a little better. You have like a paddle here, and you can basically use it like an anti-throttle. Now that would be best, but you can still effectively use regenerative braking separately as long as you just learn how to finesse the levers and time your braking well. I would say it's probably reduced my need on average for using the friction brake by about 60% as opposed to a scooter that just doesn't have it, and that's significant. I can do most of my slowing down actually without using the friction brakes at all. And if the regenerative brakes are not enough, I can just pull a little harder and the friction brakes will kick in alongside the regen brake. But again, you can control how involved the regenerative or e-braking, whatever they call it, depending on who you're shopping from, is involved with your braking.